All right, in this explainer, we're going back, way back. We're going to the very first moment of creation. And I'm not just talking about the universe, I'm talking about the creation of the self. We're exploring that single, powerful choice that literally ignites a world.
This line right here, it really sets the stage for, well, for everything. It's telling us that before you had an identity, before you were even conscious, you were just potential. You were a vibration, a tremor, just waiting for a reason to become something more.
So to really get what that tremor is all about, we have to go back to a myth from before time itself. The source material tells us this foundational story about Aeon and Ananke. He's the god of time, she's the goddess of inevitability. And in the beginning, they were one complete, perfect whole.
And this is where things get really fascinating, because this cosmic story, it isn't just happening out there in space. When they suddenly separated, it wasn't just some Big Bang event. It created a pulse, a kind of continuum that traveled down into bone, forming an unseen architecture inside every single one of us. It's like a skeleton of 12 ribs, and each one holds a piece of that original cosmic drama.
So you can see here, this is the whole ecosystem of the self, a system of 12 foundational archetypes, from chaos all the way to creation. Now, we're not going to try and unpack all of these today. Instead, we're going to zero in on the very first one, the rib that kicks it all off.
And that brings us to Inception. Now, this isn't just about starting a new project or a new habit. We're talking about something way deeper. This is the fundamental spark that awakens your own sleeping potential.
So what exactly is Inception? Well, it's the instigation. It's that first push. And sometimes it's a conscious choice you make. But other times, life kind of backs you into a corner and basically says, you can't stay here anymore. It is that point of no return.
And that's exactly why its archetype is the first flame. It's the catalyst that starts the whole process of you becoming you. And let's be clear, the source material says there's no gentle awakening here. You don't get to transform without feeling the heat, without the burn.
Okay, so every single time this first flame appears, it presents you with a choice. It puts you at a crossroads, a fork in the road between two very different states of being. The source calls them fracture and cohesion.
And this illustrates the two paths perfectly. On one side, you've got fracture. This is hesitation. This is when you let doubt and logic just bury that initial spark and you end up living in the land of almost. But on the other side, you have cohesion. This is pure certainty. It's when you trust that first instinct so completely, the world has no choice but to respond.
Let's dig into fracture for a second. This isn't just procrastination. It's a deep-seated fear of what happens when you actually become what you have the potential to be. It's the fear of arrival itself, so you just stay safe in the land of what if.
But cohesion? Wow, that's a whole different ballgame. Think of it like physics. When you step forward with that kind of unshakable certainty, reality itself has to reorganize around your decision. You don't wait for an invitation, you become the event.
So you might be wondering, how does this flame actually get lit? Do you strike the match yourself, or does something or someone light it for you? Well, the source material suggests it's a bit of both.
And that leads us to this central question. Think about the big turning points in your own life. Was it a conscious decision you made, an act of will, or was it more like the hand of fate just pushing you off the cliff?
Here's a perfect example of what you could call a coerced choice, a life event where there are no other alternatives. I mean, getting arrested isn't something you choose, but it can become the spark. The external world forces an internal beginning because all the other doors have slammed shut.
But then you have this, a conscious, split-second decision. This isn't about being forced by circumstances. This is about recognizing a choice point, one of those rare intersections where the universe says, okay, pick one, move, now, and you do it.
So when you boil it all down, that first step, that change, it's coming no matter what. That's the Ananke, the inevitability. Our only real power, our only choice, is deciding whether we walk toward it willingly or get dragged into it.
So what happens when these two paths, the hesitation and the action, the inevitability and the will, finally meet? Well, that's the resolution. That's what the source calls the first undeniable yes.
And the name for this is convergence. This is the moment the internal debate is just over. The doubt, the fear, the hesitation, it all gets fused together into pure forward momentum. It's when that dormant spark finally slams into the truth of its own direction.
And this is the real beginning. Not the idea, not the hesitation, but the convergence. It's the point of ignition where potential becomes tangible, where that tremor in the dark finally becomes a self in motion.
So, that potential for a new beginning, your first flame, it's always there, waiting. The only real question left is, will you choose the spark, or will you wait for life to force the burn?